Migration is in the news for all the wrong reasons, dividing opinions and ruining family dinners the world over.
Immigration policies.
How that immigration system works once Donald Trump takes office.
But there's another migration crisis happening right under our noses that's a lot harder to see, but every bit as important. The millionaire migration is in full swing, and just last year alone, more than 100,000 wealthy individuals with a combined net worth of over $10 trillion crossed borders around the world. The international trade of high net worth individuals is bigger than the international trade of oil, but it's intentionally kept opaque by a few interested parties. We've been collecting data from dozens of countries and sources to map this migration, to try and learn what the world's wealthiest people are looking for, and more importantly, what they're running away from.
Your new passport, sir.
The wealthy Chinese who are moving their families and their money overseas.
I can't decide whether I should move to Florida.
The millionaires move away from Hong Kong and into Singapore.
Wealthy individuals and their families are the most mobile people on the planet, moving between countries at a rate 50 times higher than the average global citizen. This is for three simple reasons. One, they can afford to move. The price of a plane ticket and some new furniture in a fresh country is a major expense to most people, but for the global 1%, it's almost incidental. The second reason is that a home just doesn't mean as much to them. Extremely wealthy people can easily travel the world to see friends and family. They can make their jobs work around them, and even if a country doesn't have the same services they can enjoy at home, they can pay to bring it with them. If you or I moved to a different country, we would have to quit our jobs, give up some local traditions, and accept that we may not see our friends and family as often as if we were living in the same city with them. The truly wealthy don't need to make such sacrifices. The third reason is simply that it's cost-effective. Moving is expensive, but if a billionaire can save even a few % in taxes every year by claiming residency in a low-tax jurisdiction, it can easily cover all the extra travel expenses and then some. The only reason we don't notice this intense level of migration is because there aren't that many of them. Several countries from around the world, including the USA, have so-called golden visas that let wealthy migrants gain permanent residency or even citizenship by investing a certain amount of money into the local economy. The EB-5 Immigrant Investor Program is America's golden visa and grants permanent residency to individuals and their families if they make the necessary investment in commercial enterprise in the United States and plan to create or preserve 10 permanent full-time jobs for qualified US workers. For a high net worth individual, that is not a big ask, especially since there are private equity firms that exist to seek out small businesses for these people to buy and meet those requirements. This includes the not-so-subtly named EB-5 Capital, so they're really not even trying to hide it. If they're lucky and pick the right business, they might even make some money off this, making it a very easy way to get into the country. This system's helped make the USA the second most popular destination in the world for ultra-high net worth migrants. But perhaps that's not surprising. America has a big population and a huge economy, so of course it's going to attract a certain number of wealthy people. The big story within the USA is actually its internal migration. More wealthy people than ever are moving between states, leaving places like California and New York and ending up in states with lower taxes and looser regulations like Florida and Texas. The data is a bit harder to follow here. A high net worth individual moving from Washington State to Florida may be someone like Jeff Bezos, who conveniently relocated to the Sunshine State after Washington implemented new capital gains taxes. However, that same data point could just as easily be someone who sold up their Seattle home and moved to Florida to retire on the beach. The line between a high net worth individual and someone who just sold a house in a gentrified city is quite blurry. Either way, Americans are moving away from states with high taxes and noticeable social issues like homelessness, and moving to states with lower taxes that do a better job of hiding those same issues away outside of gated communities. To most of you watching from the land of freedom and truck nuts, this probably isn't that shocking. What's a little more surprising is what's happening just up north. Canada has a much smaller population and a much smaller economy, and yet according to the data, it welcomed almost as many wealthy migrants as the USA. According to data collected by Henley & Partners, a global law firm that provides immigration services to high net worth individuals, Canada has become extremely popular because it offers all the amenities of a first world country and its paths to permanent residency are even easier than south of the border. Canada has several golden visa programs, and the path to permanent residency is much more straightforward, even through student visa programs. Often, wealthy migrants are more interested in moving their money than moving themselves. Something as basic as a student visa grants their holders the right to buy real estate in Canada as a personal dwelling or even as an investment property. Canadian real estate is a highly desirable international investment because the country has strong property rights, low holding costs, and ownership is forever. This is in contrast to the countries where many high net worth individuals are coming from, which almost never offer freehold land ownership, instead opting for systems where people can rent land on a several decades long lease. There's also another aspect to Canada that makes it particularly attractive, and that is that it offers everything a first world country has, while also allowing migrants from diverse backgrounds to maintain their culture, their food, and even their language in suburbs that have developed these amenities. Suburbs like Richmond in Vancouver, Arcadia in Los Angeles, and Chatswood in Sydney have all become the most popular suburbs in the most popular cities in the most popular countries for ultra high net worth immigration. This concentrated inflow of capital has done some interesting things to those local economies, but we need to talk about that later. At the very top of destinations for high net worth migrants, there is the so-called Safe Haven 8. Australia, Switzerland, Singapore, New Zealand, Malta, Monaco, and Mauritius. These countries were also highlighted by Henley & Partners for having a few key characteristics that made them suitable for the world's richest people seeking out a new home. They're all extremely safe, with low crime rates, they have world-class healthcare, education, and all allow for international investing, and they all have one thing that money can't buy, which is well-maintained environments with good air quality and protected natural spaces. Because of this, over 40% of the millionaires in these countries were foreign-born, an exceptionally revealing number when you remember that these countries are high-income countries themselves. The scale of wealth migration to these centers has been huge, and most projections suggest that records are going to be broken again this year. Now, I've deliberately left just enough time for the most persnickety amongst you to type out a comment that there were only 7 countries listed in the Safe Haven 8. Now, I did that partially to bait comment engagement for the YouTube algorithm, and partially because there is one country that stands out as a magnet for wealth above all others: the United Arab Emirates. The UAE, and in particular the city of Dubai, have been using their oil wealth to build a playground for the rich from the ground up. The city has constructed a world-class airport, shopping, real estate, yachting, and entertainment hub out of the sand. It's fake and cheesy and tacky, and everything Adam Something says about it is absolutely true. But thousands of the world's wealthiest people simply don't care. They see somewhere they can enjoy the sun, buy anything they want, live in ostentatious homes, and be within a 7-hour plane ride from half the world's population. Unlike other countries that have at the very least pretended to control this inflow of super wealthy people, the UAE has gone foot to the floor to bring in as many wealthy people as it possibly can as quickly as it can. The Emirates have no income tax on individuals, and their sales tax is just 5%. Beyond just saving wealthy people a lot of money on their least favorite expense, having no income taxes means wealthy immigrants don't even need to register for tax reporting or prepare documentation every year, which has a huge draw for people with complicated financial affairs. The hope for the Emirates is that these wealthy people will bring economic activity with them, as businesses spring up to cater to their wishes, providing employment and relevance long after the oil runs dry. It's a bold strategy, but sustainable or not, it's made Dubai the center of the world's millionaire migration, drawing wealthy individuals mainly from China, India, the UK, and Africa. So it might not be that surprising that the world's wealthiest people are seeking out places where they can enjoy good weather, good amenities, and the good company of other rich people, while making sure that they, their families, and their money are kept safe. But that's not actually what's driving the record spike in high net worth migration. Humans are surprisingly stubborn beings, and the decision to leave one's home country is not taken lightly, even if a lot of the sacrifices can be mitigated with a private jet card and imported food. The country losing the most high net worth individuals is China. The nation's economic miracle has made a lot of people very rich very quickly, but maintaining that wealth can be difficult. The country has tenuous property rights, and high-profile business people have increasingly gone missing or been put on trial if they get out of line. Now, these wealthy individuals are by no means blameless victims in this political power play. Some level of corruption is a common component in most business deals, which means even moderately successful business people could have their life savings taken from them if the powers that be decide to investigate them. The reality is clear. China is a great place to make a fortune, it's a terrible place to keep a fortune. People want to move their money and themselves somewhere where they can enjoy their success. In 2024, China lost more than 15,000 high net worth individuals conservatively. The government knows this is a problem, so it has extremely strict capital controls on people leaving the country. So if you were an ultra-wealthy Chinese businessman, it would be a good idea to do everything you can to avoid being included in official figures. Now, China losing more millionaires than any other country in the world shouldn't be too surprising. It has the second largest population in the world and the second largest number of millionaires in the world to lose. On a millionaire loss per number of millionaires scale, China isn't too different from countries like South Africa, Brazil, and Russia. Not exactly a great company to keep, but it isn't really outstanding in this group for any other reason except its enormous population. But there is one nation that's scaring ultra-high net worth people away faster than any other authoritarian regime. An oligopolistic banana republic where government mismanagement, crime, and living standards are degrading so rapidly that people are rushing for the exit. The United Kingdom. The numbers leaving the UK are staggering. Over 9,500 millionaires left the UK in 2024 alone, more than any other country in the world other than China, a pseudo-authoritarian regime with a population more than 20 times larger. Since leaving the EU, a lot of European families have moved back to the mainland to stay attached to the larger economic centre. Other Brits have seen declining economic conditions and have decided to move to somewhere with sunshine and lower taxes. The biggest problem for the UK is just how dependent we once were on being the one receiving incoming high net worth individuals. In fact, we kind of built our economy on it. Just a decade ago, the UK was one of the most popular destinations for wealthy families looking for a new home, and those capital inflows helped build out a financial centre, even if it did come at the cost of pricing regular Brits out of London. This reversal was put into overdrive just a few months ago. Many of those fleeing the UK did so because of the Chancellor of the Exchequer's October budget, where the new Labour government removed the so-called non-domiciled or non-dom status that previously gave non-British citizens favourable treatment for residents in the UK, with only their UK earned income being taxed. But even for citizens of the UK, the budget raised capital gains taxes and private sector national insurance contributions, which is a significant additional expense for businesses and financial elites in London. For those who have the option to move their capital assets to another country, not doing so would be highly fiscally irresponsible. As an ultra-low net worth Brit myself, I must admit I've considered leaving the UK. Not for financial reasons, but just to go somewhere that gets more than 11 days of sun per year. I hate being a global guinea pig, but the UK has become a clear demonstration of just how influential ultra-high net worth migration can be. It can price out local residents when they're coming in and destabilize an economy when they're going out. Ultra-high net worth migration is built like an economic Red Bull. If it's controlled carefully, welcoming highly successful business people and their money can be a powerful way to stimulate the economy. But if you make Red Bull your entire diet, it's going to cause no limit of problems going in and going out. Now, if you think we're the only ones that totally screwed this up, go and watch how Sydney, Australia is dealing with the wealth gap so badly it has literally divided the city in two. And subscribe for more micro stories with big consequences.